Today, we're going to talk to somebody who really didn't want to have to take over his parents' restaurant when he grew up. Fast forward a few years, and now he's an 8-figure seller on Amazon and a 7-figure seller on Walmart. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I'm your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the Amazon, Walmart, or e-com world. And we've got a serious seller on right now, Eugene. Eugene, how's it going?
Hi, Bradley. Great. Honored to be here.
I'm honored to have you on here. Now, where are you located?
We are close to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay, East Coast. Is that
East
where you were
Coast,
born
yeah.
and raised?
Yeah, lived there my whole life in this area. Yep.
All right, excellent. Now, growing up in the East Coast as, as a, I don't know what you, you call them Floridians. What do you call somebody from Pennsylvania? I don't know what the word
Pennsylvanian?
is. Is it Pennsylvanian? Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Growing up as a small Pennsylvanian over there, like, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up, or what did your parents kind of try and push you to or encourage you to do?
Well, I mean, I'm an ABC, so I'm a first generation Chinese, born in New York, and my parents had a Chinese restaurant, so I grew up in that environment, very entrepreneurial mindset, and just kind of grew up in that environment building. They built businesses, and didn't expect myself to be in this space, right? I definitely didn't want to take over the restaurant, that's for sure. So I shot down that dream very early on. I think I wanted to be more something like on Wall Street and like a financial analyst aspect. That was my dream job growing up. Yeah.
Okay. And then graduating high school, did you go to college? Yeah,
I went to Penn State and a local college.
Nittany Lions.
Nittany Lions. Heck yeah. Yep. They didn't do too great this year.
I just went to, I didn't go to the college. My dad did, but I've always had season tickets to San Diego State Aztecs and went to the Mountain West Championship game a couple weeks ago. And then they just got their butts kicked because 30 players were out with COVID. But anyways, let's forget about college sports because that's just going to get me depressed. What was your major there at Penn State?
That was finance and economics.
Okay, and then did you get into that field upon graduation?
Not really. I mean, it was related to financial. I was more got into like risk management, underwriting for insurance.
That just sounds like a thrill a minute right there. Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah, my first corporate job. Yep.
Okay, and then so around what year and how did you get introduced to e-commerce? And was it Amazon or was something else? Was your first entry into e-commerce?
It was really while I was working my job. Pretty much, my cousin hit me up like, "Hey, we're getting ready to do something here," and they were just kind of selling on eBay. Right, they're messing with products imported from China and selling on eBay. And I just would go over after work, a few hours, and help out and pack some orders. And then, fast forward to probably about 6 months of that. We're like, okay, I think it's time to quit my main job and just jump in and go all in. And at that point,
on eBay only?
It was eBay only at that point in time. Yep.
So you had made enough to quit your day finance job just selling on eBay. What year was this again?
This was late 2007 and 2008 is when we entered Amazon. But that was, I did it with the premise of no Amazon yet.
So what were you doing on eBay in 2008? I think I was selling on eBay in 2008, but it was mainly some used stuff I had. I was trying to get rid of and stuff like that.
It was just, this is gonna date me, but we did a lot of those. I remember those digital photo keychains, had 4 gig, 8 gig. That's kind of that was the hotcakes. That was the hot product back then. And I forget what it was, hundreds of those a day that we pack and went crazy. And of
so
course,
was it like a private label, like your own product that you source from China or something, or was it just brand name stuff that you were just reselling?
No, it was just generic stuff. We didn't have brand play back in the day, and it just took off, and that kind of opened our eyes. Oh wow, this is actually real. We can do something with this.
All right. So then you took that business over to Amazon and just started, splitting your time between Amazon and eBay, or did you completely switch to Amazon, or how did that work?
No, eBay was in the picture for a long time because that was still the biggest chunk of the business. Back in 2008, Amazon was, I know it already was going on for a few years, but it definitely didn't have the volume yet. But I think because FBA wasn't even available back then yet in 2008. But we applied the same philosophies that we did on the eBay and pushed our same generic products out. And eventually, I think later that year, we had an explosive Christmas. And yeah, I think sky's the limit from there.
What was Amazon like back then? Because I don't think we've talked to many people who started Amazon before maybe 2014, around.
It was very easy. Pretty much, I think we didn't get too sophisticated with listing with like flat files yet or anything like that. We just kind of did like the manual approach, listed one at a time. There weren't many variations or colors or things like that. It was just like one product per listing. And it was really, I think, anything we could get our hands on. Because, I mean, at that time, eBay proved that model for us where, hey, we had a connection in China and we could pretty much bring in almost any product we wanted to. And we just put it up there and it sold. And then we applied that same strategy to Amazon. And it was just really easy. It was shooting fish in a barrel. But of course, fast forward to now, that does not work.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible that, started off on eBay and doing the same thing on Amazon. Like that was like even before what some consider the glory days of Amazon, you had got a head start in everybody. So you had your feet wet. Now before I go on, I just got to call it out again, guys, if you didn't hear the announcements, starting with episode 300, we actually started doing video now for this podcast. For 300 episodes, we only did audio. And it's kind of cool because, even though we did audio, like I still only recorded the audio. Like I could not see the person I was talking to whenever I would record these episodes. And now I'm looking at Eugene's background there. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you know what I'm saying. But if you're just listening to this, check out YouTube because he's got one of the cooler backdrops. He's got some arcade games. I see NBA Jam over there in the corner. He's got the Teenage Mutant stand-up arcade. What is that in your little glass container or glass display case there? Are those Legos or Lego, I should say, or?
I'm a big Lego fan. Yeah. Big. I call it AFL, adult fan of Lego.
I love it. Well, I was really, speaking. You mentioned that your parents owned a restaurant. Like, do you watch Lego Masters?
Yes, we did with my kids. Yep.
So the guys we were trying to root for, they were also Chinese. I think their parents had a Chinese restaurant. And they I think they were runners up, so they didn't get to win it. And helium 10. Lego uses helium 10. A lot for their Amazon business, right?
Yes, I caught that. Yep, caught that episode. Yep. That's cool.
Cool. Anyways, guys, we're gonna find out how Eugene can just have such a cool like game room like this and stuff. It's definitely from being in the e-commerce space here. So let's talk a little bit more about how your Amazon business grew. So I mean, obviously you haven't been for 15 years selling digital keychains and things like that. So like, when did you discover the need where like, or for like your first true private label product? Like, are you selling that private label product today? The one that was like maybe your first real private label product?
I think we might have some that are still in our inventory from way back when, 2008. Not many. So we're bringing in all these different products and literally we like, again, this is where like we didn't have a strategy. There was no brand. There was no like that type of strategy. It was just, hey, get whatever hands that we could get on that we think works and just sell it. It doesn't matter what category. It could be across 10 different categories, right? So we were selling this, I guess this massager thing, and we started getting a lot more emails about like, hey, can you send it in discreet packaging? Can you send it in an unmarked box? Can you send it in this? And we're like, what's going on? And why are they asking these questions? And it took us probably about a month to figure it out. And in the meantime, we're also getting some returns and handling as well too. So afterwards, we're like, oh my gosh, like that.
Okay. You don't need to go into too much details there.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So we figured out that was a mistake. Yep.
Did you ever get classified as adult on there because of what was like maybe coming in, like when you start getting reviews about it and stuff, or did you always just stay in the therapeutic side, I guess, of Amazon?
That was a one-off product. We exited that very, very quick because that wasn't our intention.
Yeah, I'd be probably paranoid if I took one of those returns. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is. I love stories like that. Anyways, okay, cool. So you've been selling on Amazon probably longer than 99% of Amazon sellers out there. Top two biggest changes that kind of affected the way you do business on Amazon. What would you say? Like, there's been a billion changes on Amazon, but was it, no more incentivized reviews? Was it, PPC, you're like, what would you say from the early days to now that really, a couple of changes that really made you have to pivot the way you manage your business?
Well, I mean, we never relied on any actually black hat tactics. We were one of the good old boys. We didn't really do anything. We just kind of did what Amazon gave us, and we try to have good copy, good pictures, and everything like that. I mean, I guess I would say the branding aspect, we were very, very late to that, and we're still playing catch up. And obviously, like back then, we were living in those glory days where like literally you can put anything up and sell with no strategy. But fast forward to now, we're cleaning up our mess that we did in the past because we just grew way, way, way too quick. And yeah, I mean that's probably one of the biggest things. Obviously, PPC is another one where we did not need to allocate those amount of funds for PPC. Now it's another one of those things you have to pay to play. If you don't, yeah, we see the results of that.
Okay. Now, like you mentioned, started on eBay, went to Amazon. Now we're in, the end of 2021. What are the other platforms that you've been selling on?
Right now, it's currently just Amazon and Walmart mainly. We stopped eBay recently. We have our own Shopify, but those are really the two main channels we push.
How many marketplaces on Amazon? Only USA, or are you selling in any international?
We do Canada and Mexico.
Okay. So like just projected sales between, Amazon and Walmart, everything together. What do you think, I mean, we're coming up on the end of the year. It's busy season. So I know you might not be an exact, that's totally fine. Around how much will your gross sales have been when you look back at 2021?
2021, I think we're probably going to be in anywhere from the 18 to 20 million mark for revenue. 18
to 20 million. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Making a little bit more than you would have if, you took over your parents' restaurant, there. So, speaking of that, like the way that you do products, were you always just looking at where the opportunity is, or did you do any kind of like products that, for example, came from your knowledge about the restaurant industry from your parents? Oh man, this is something my parents probably, could use, or this is something that I personally, like to do. Did anything come from like personal pet projects or knowledge, or was it all just like, all right, let me research where there's high demand and low competition?
I would say in the beginning, there was a very electronics tech focus, and my cousin and myself were very heavy into that area. So that was really the kind of like the driving force. So we started out as more, the cables, adapters, webcams, electronic gadgets like that digital keychain, those types of things. And that has mostly been abandoned now. We pivoted to more fashion apparel, which works for us. But obviously it's very hard to navigate with so many colors, prints, and sizing. Yeah, it gets crazy.
Different brand than the electronics, I'm assuming?
No, this is everything was under one roof.
Oh wow!
And this was a mistake we made because again we started off like just grabbing anything that we could. So we were kind of like the Walmart of Amazon. I could sell like anything from health and beauty all the way to tech to fashion to the pet to everything. And we know that that's not the right way to go about it from a branding standpoint. So right now we're in the process of cleaning that up.
Okay. All right, cool. So what would you say is, do you have any like, obviously you're an 8-figure seller. Do you have any products or any SKUs by itself, they make 7 figures or grow 7 figures? Or is it kind of like spread pretty evenly on your portfolio?
No, there's always going to be a few heavy hitters. Yeah, there's a couple of products that would command that 7-figure mark. Yep.
Oh, wow. Let's talk about how you built those up. Like around when did you start those products?
I mean, some have been since 2016. And 2016, 2017 was probably where most of them came about.
And was it like just random? Maybe over a few months you launched 10 products and just one of them just took off, or like from day one you're like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a huge product. I know this is going to be like a 7-figure product, or how did that happen?
There were a couple where it happened where we're like, oh yeah, we knew this was going to be successful, but that's more often than not. Most of the ones are sometimes the first 2 years, we don't really make much money off of it, or just kind of it's just very, very conservative play. But then it pops off 1 year, and then that's when we start obviously adding expansions, adding all these different things, or possibly even improving the product. And And that's the key. You can't just put out any product nowadays, right? You got to have a unique selling proposition, some type of unique print or style or something that sets you apart. And that's kind of just our main philosophy.
I like it. I like it. Now, Walmart. When did you hop on the Walmart? I don't want to call it a bandwagon, but when did you hop on that train, I guess?
Walmart was, I would want to say 2018. It was very early.
Oh, so
on.
pretty early.
Yeah.
In the days where their seller center was like almost, it was a nightmare to navigate, and you had to do all this API stuff, and it would take forever to get anything done, right?
It still is kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are tough. Yep.
Now, were you just taking your best sellers on Amazon and then you put it on Walmart, or did you develop products that were only for Walmart, or what was your strategy there?
No, we try to keep it simple. Just, pretty much put our entire catalog onto Walmart. We haven't explored the exclusive aspect yet, but that's something that we always consider and talking to the team about and seeing, okay, is there a way to make that work? If we offer something that's exclusive, can you give us better views?
Okay. And then, what would you say, of that $20 million pie, how much does Walmart take of that?
I think the industry average was 10%. It's right around that mark. It's pretty close.
Okay, so you are a 7-figure seller then on Walmart too.
Yeah.
Do you have any products at all that actually do better on Walmart than Amazon for some strange reason, or is that percentage where it's Amazon usually is 5 to 10 times as much as Walmart? Does that kind of go for you across the board there?
Surprisingly, it doesn't correlate much with Amazon. There's stuff that doesn't sell on Amazon and it does well on Walmart. We can't make a lot of sense out of it, but we push what we can. But yeah, it's not one for one for sure. It's very strange.
Now, let's talk about fulfillment on Walmart. Are you mainly fulfilling yourself? Are you using that WFS? Are you shipping this stuff out of a third-party warehouse? How do you fulfill orders on Walmart?
We do WFS, but we also have our own warehouse. So we have our own fulfillment team. So we do it all from do both sides of it. So whenever WFS stocks out, our warehouse team would pick up the slack.
Okay, all right. PPC. I don't know if you consider this metric, but do you consider your tacos on Amazon and your tacos on Walmart? Like, what's your total ACoS or your budget? Like is it very similar? Like, hey, if I'm selling $10 million on Amazon, I'm spending $1 million on PPC, or what? I'm just throwing out random numbers here. Do you guys have a similar strategy, or you have a kind of different strategy on Walmart, if you are even using PPC on Walmart?
Yeah, PPC, my team we don't really have a budget. Because obviously every SKU is different case by case, right? If the numbers are healthy, we're going to keep spending. We're not going to stop spending. On the Walmart side, it is in its very infant stages because we were part of the beta team that tested the PPC, and I think in 1 month I blew through like $3 or $5 grand in a blink of an eye, and it counted for nothing. And we were one of the first testers, so we kind of dropped that for a while. But recently, we just got hooked up with the pack view program with them. And we were able to now, one of my top
that's
guys.
Helium 10. That's one of our sister companies now, right?
Yes, that's right. We saw that announcement. Yep. So I didn't
even realize you use PackView. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's something that one of my guys is utilizing, and it's a lot smoother interface than the Walmart side of things. It's a lot easier to work with, and that's their feedback.
Okay.
But we're in the process of seeing some good results, but we're in the process of scaling it further to really get more visibility on the listings.
Speaking of visibility, when you launch on Walmart, what's the general strategy? How do you get to quote unquote page one on Walmart?
It's still very new to us. And I'm not saying that we definitely don't do everything that a successful Walmart seller does, for sure.
You're doing something that works, obviously. You're a 7-figure seller on Walmart, yeah.
I'm good friends with Michael Labar, right? But we learned from him a lot, and I try to pick his brain. Really, it's pointing out the good copy and great pictures, right? But we steal that from Amazon. But the real thing is maybe it's an unfair advantage, but we work directly with account managers from the different categories and try to best position our products. But of course, we have to have good products in order to be able be even in the conversation with them and they want to feature us. So they have a right to reject everything on the catalog, right? But we just throw them, hey, these are our new listings, and they're geared for spring launch, and they automatically help us to promote them. And that was kind of like the secret recipe for us.
You mentioned like, category managers and things. Has a category manager or a buyer from Walmart ever contacted you about actually purchasing any of your products that are doing well in Walmart, and they're like, hey, we want to make it kind of a fulfilled by Walmart and sold by Walmart product, or has anything like that ever come down the pipeline?
No, not. I've heard of that happening, but no, not to us at this point.
Okay, yeah, because for those of you out there listening, like to me, what I always preach is like the holy grail in e-com is start crushing on Amazon. Do exactly what Eugene has done. Take your Amazon catalog, put it on Walmart, and then try and get a relationship with some of these category managers or a buyer. And then the next step is, hey, get them to actually buy your product, and then that helps. And then if that takes off, and the reason I say this, guys, is because this is what one of my old companies I used to work for did. Then have them. Hopefully, you can get it in brick and mortar. And then if you get a SKU into brick and mortar and Walmart, guys, it's game over. I mean, that's just like, the kind of POs that you'll be seeing, are in the millions of dollars for one PO, because you think of how many thousand Walmart stores there are, and you got to get, X number into every single store. I mean, it's just crazy, the potential. So yeah, maybe we'll have Eugene on this show next year, in a year, and then by then, like maybe one of these things has happened, and it'd be interesting to see how much sales go up, because you can probably 100x whatever you're doing on Walmart now on a SKU, like if you get it into an actual store. What are some other differences? You talked about PPC, you talked about how listings is not too different, but what is there anything that you would call out where it's like, I don't know, the refund policy or the shipping policy or anything where it's just like, wow, it's like night and day different than Amazon that sellers need to be aware of?
For us, it's really just it's the technical aspects of it. I mean, I know things happen on Amazon where listings break and stuff like that, or variations break apart. But at least we know how to put it back together. On Walmart, that's the part that where it becomes like a black hole. You sometimes stuff breaks apart, your top listing breaks, and you can't fix it. The team doesn't know how to fix it. So those are some of the frustrating things my team had to experience, probably more ever since we've been onboarded up until this day. Obviously, it's gotten better. I know their platform has gotten better, but it's just when it happens to one of your top listings, especially during peak period, and no one can help you. Even the account manager sometimes can't help you. That's the scariest situation that we have.
Let's go back to Amazon. Obviously you've got tons of wins, to be able to scale up to that. Let's talk about some of your L's that you've taken over the years. Like, you ever gotten your account suspended? You ever gotten a product suspended? For whatever reason, like what are some like big things that you've learned that maybe, who knows, maybe you can save somebody else from the trouble by learning from a mistake that happened to you? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, like I told you, like, yeah, I mean, we're kind of like a fairy tale story. We started in my cousin's basement and went crazy, doubling year after year after year. But of course, there's all these hard things that happen behind the scenes. And like I said in the beginning, we didn't really have a strategy. We're just kind of selling whatever. Hey, we can sell this. This is cool. Let's do it. Boom, boom, boom. But then there's things called patents. So patents, and we've gotten ourselves in trouble with some of those in the past. But of course, now we understand that game a lot more, and so that's one of the stumbling blocks that we had early on. We were just kind of trying to sell everything under the sun, and we realized the hard way that, hey, you can't just do that, right?
Yeah.
And now that's probably one of the biggest learning lessons.
Did you get your whole account suspended, or just like a product suspended, or what happened when you had that issue?
That one was just a couple products that were suspended, but of course also there were fines as well too, right? That we had to pay out of pocket to settle and stuff like that.
Okay.
And yes, we have been suspended before by Amazon. We've done that before.
Did you have to like hire an outside agency to like write the POAs and the plan of actions and stuff, or were you guys able to get unsuspended on your own?
We were able to do that internally and get unsuspended ourselves.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. Speaking of internally, well, some people who might be scaling up with like, hey, Eugene is hashtag goals. I want to be $20 million seller in the future. What does that look like as far as your team? Like obviously you're not running this 100% by yourself. Like you said, you got your cousin, but like, do you have VAs? Do you have full-time staff? Do you actually have a warehouse? What's your team construction like?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that because I mean, my team gets a lot of the credit. I mean, we have some couple of VAs in the Philippines. We also have a small team in China, but the bulk of the team is in our Pennsylvania warehouse and office. I mean, this team has been together for a long, long time. I mean, some of us were there over 10 years, right? So this is a very, very strong team that's been very knowledgeable. We each have our core competencies, and that's how we run it. And that's one of the main recipes for success because no one can. I mean, there are definitely smart enough people out there that can run this whole thing by themselves, and I've seen that. But also, there's a lot of stress, and it just for me, it wasn't very healthy to have it all on one or two people's shoulders. That's way too much, and that's high burnout, especially in this industry. So we have probably about, I would say in the U.S. about 23 employees as of right now, and that's where most of the brain work happens, and a lot of the logistics, warehousing, order fulfillment, all that stuff happens.
All right. Now, something earlier in our conversation, Eugene, and I've been thinking about this, is like you mentioned that you started in electronics and still do electronics, and then somehow you went to fashion. How does that transition, happen? You're like, okay, I'm doing kitchen, and now I'm going into home decor. I'm doing electronics, now I'm doing cell phone accessories or something. But where does that pivot happen from electronics to fashion?
Well, yeah, that's a funny question. So pretty much I told you already that we sold a lot in the electronic space, tech and gadget stuff like that. And at that point, we were predominantly just male staff, right? And someone introduced some ready stock generic products that weren't fashion. I think it was leggings and suspenders, and that was really kind of like the first start of it. But it was a bunch of guys in the office trying to figure out what patterns would print, what sizes, and all that stuff to pick. So we didn't really have the expertise per se, but we were able to make it work. Surprisingly, obviously, some of the sizing was really really strange. We didn't realize China sizing was different than American sizing. So like an extra small in China would actually no, extra small here would be like a triple XL in China, right? So we didn't understand that, and we were starting
being a big guy myself and living in Asia a few years too. Like I understand that struggle. I could never find shoes in my size. I could never find shirts. They're like, what do you like? We don't have anybody your size here. Come on. So then what happened with that?
Yeah. So I mean, we obviously we got a lot of bad reviews for certain things for sizing, and the size charts were wrong on a lot of different things. That was in the very, very early days. But of course, as we got more serious with fashion, we're like, oh wow, there is a lot of demand here and a lot of success here. But of course, we needed to fix the expertise part of it. And really, we just kind of it fell into our lap where we had some good hires, and now fast forward, we have people that are experts in the fashion field, trends and everything like that, and sizing is very, 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 very important for us, and we're able to scale that. But yeah, the first year it was just a bunch of guys throwing stuff at a wall, trying to sell women's fashion, and it was very, very hard. I'm surprised we broke past it, but it was very, very high failure rate. It's supposed to be high failure rate, but we got past it.
Okay, that's good. Hey, so it helps to have a diverse workforce too. Especially when you're trying to market to a certain demographic. If you don't have that demographic on staff, it makes it a little bit difficult. Now, the other question I wanted to ask is fashion is something that me personally on Amazon, I've always been scared of because of what you kind of mentioned about the returns and things like that. Like, because Amazon has such a generous policy, in my opinion, for fashion. Like, it kind of like, to me, almost incentivizes somebody to order like 3 or 4 different sizes at once and stuff, knowing that they can just return it at no cost. Like, how do you budget for that? And what is like your return rate, for you guys? Obviously you're all in, you're not quitting on this. So you figured out a way to make it profitable. How have you done that?
Well, I mean, so yeah, return rate on fashion is definitely a lot higher than well, for us, for the categories that we sold in, that's definitely the worst category. I believe it's above 10% for sure. Yeah, and there are a lot of situations where people buy multiple sizes and then return the sizes that they don't want. We actually we factored that in recently, and it's something that we have to pad our margins with, right? I mean, if you don't, I think a lot of our product lines would end up losing. But it's something with right now with everything. It's like the perfect storm where the supply chain and every cost is going up in every single area, and of course our return rates were actually even higher this year for some reason compared to last year. So then we had to factor that in as well too. So our average went up. There's really, I mean, there's no real way to combat it 100% because I mean everybody is different, right? It doesn't matter if I usually fit in a size large. Sometimes I won't fit in a size large for different companies or for a different type of outfit, right? So we understand people are going to try different things. Size chart is something that we try to perfect as best we can, and we try to do that through a lot of testing, a lot of samples. It takes a lot of time back and forth with the factories, but that's kind of like the main eliminator of it because with how lax both Walmart and Amazon's return policies are, I mean we can't say hey you can't return it, right? That's not an option for us. So we have to eat it. So we just have to build that into the margins.
Does the things work on Walmart the same as Amazon across from either electronics or fashion, or does one do better actually, relatively speaking, to like your sales on Amazon, on Walmart as opposed to the other? Does your electronics do better? Do you get better action on there, or does the fashion actually do better on Walmart?
It seems like the more obscure products do better on Walmart for us. Fashion, being a private label seller, I think is harder on Walmart. Like retail arbitrage, I think is probably more lucrative. I think at this stage, I'm hoping that tide will turn. But and I've heard that more than a few times already, and our data tells us that as well too. So there must be something there why private label fashion is harder on Walmart for some reason. I don't know why. I'm trying to crack that code.
Interesting. Supply chain issues. I think regardless whether somebody's in electronics, fashion, whatever, if we're importing from Asia, we've been experiencing double shipping costs. We've been experiencing shipping times of 3-4 months. How has that affected you, and how have you guys been navigating that?
Yeah, I mean that's been killer for everybody. I mean, luckily we have a team over there on foot, right? So they help us negotiate. They watch our back. They protect us, and they negotiate the best deals that they can. But it's no matter what, we have to pay the piper, right? We have to pay those inflated costs no matter what. What changed for us the most is that we had to definitely forecast a lot further out, which means definitely spending more money and more capital upfront. So our predictions were not gambling, but just a lot more analysis on the forecast amount. And I guess that is a bigger risk than we've taken in previous years because, well, we don't know what's going to happen after New Year, right? We have Chinese New Year coming up. So we're ordering pretty much almost 6 months worth of inventory at once, which is crazy for the books. But it's something that you have to do if you want to have stuff to sell. We don't want to take the chance of stuff falling apart before and after Chinese New Year, definitely when everything is slow to open back up again and we don't know what COVID is going to look like. So that's kind of like the approach that we're taking. Luckily, we're bootstrapped enough where we can afford that. I know not everyone can do that, but that's kind of like the aggressive approach that we've been taking. Is we're very confident on certain product lines that we have, and whether new or existing, and just double down on it. And that's what we're currently doing.
Have you raised prices to stay profitable? Because I mean, if all things, if the price stays the same, now you're paying double for shipping. Obviously, that eats directly into your profit margins and things like that. Or do you decrease PPC spend, or how have you tried to stay profitable?
I mean, price raises have definitely come. We try to minimize the big jumps from it. Luckily, with ocean freight is something that we rely on heavily. That allows us to keep our prices down. But it's something where like we don't. Again, like PPC is something where we learned the hard way, where we tried to be very cheap with it one year, and it was our worst year ever. There's a reason for that, right? And that kind of goes into one of my tips later, but like it's one of those things where you have to pretty much feed the beast. I mean, feed Amazon. That's you have to keep pushing that. And yeah, if rate increasing prices is going to hurt you for sure. I mean, like your rankings and stuff like that. But then you have to pump more money into the different Amazon ecosystem product with the coupons, promos, PPCs, things like that.
You mentioned the tips. You know about the podcast. We do the TST 30-second tip. So maybe I thought you could give us one or two. It could be about Walmart. It could be about Amazon. It could be about what you've learned about branding since you say you guys are late. I mean, it could be about anything you want. What are a couple 30-second tips that you can give our listeners out there that have helped you reach the success that you have?
Well, something very near and dear to me is, and we just experienced this recently. I mean, I think in 2019, we went to the Prosper Show. You were a part of that, and attending conferences is something that we haven't done a lot. We were very, as a company, closed. We kind of didn't talk to people. We kind of did our own thing and kind of kept our head down. And of course, I realize now that was not smart. That was just. We were just kind of so confident in our ability to make things happen, meaning like we're doubling year over year, and the gravy train wouldn't stop. But then like we had a hard time adjusting once the Amazon landscape changed. We're like, hey, you got to have a brand, you got to have our brand story, and you can't just slap things up there and sell. And the biggest thing was attending these conferences and attending a mastermind that kind of opened up a lot of doors, where established new partnerships with different businesses, and that's how I met Michael as well too, and just allow us to meet with other like-minded folks and be able to talk about strategies and things like that. And so it's one of those things where I know it's been debated before about like, hey, what are good things to go to, what conferences, and it's just that networking aspect is so invaluable. And me myself, I'm a super closet introvert. So it's one of those things where I have to force myself to do that. And also it just, once you establish that relationship, it opens up so many new doors. And we were doing so many new strategies since 2019. And that wasn't that long ago, that kind of made us not only survive this pandemic aspect, but has also leveled us up in ways where we're running so much more efficiently and just tighter and more profitable, just healthier overall, and healthier from everyone's mindset as well too, by doing different things from a strategic standpoint.
Absolutely, guys. I cannot stress enough. I've said this many times on the show that going to conferences is amazing. Not just from what you learn, from the seminars or something, but your network that you build there is almost more valuable than the seminars itself. Like being able to connect with people and who you could like hit up and who have been through some of the problems that maybe you haven't faced yet. And now it comes up on you, and you can just have some people to ask like, hey man, this just happened to me. What do I do? Guys, go to conferences, knock on wood. The world is getting back to normal, and conferences are back on. Remember, we have a huge one in September in 2022, guys, in Las Vegas, Sell and Scale. So make sure to look that up with Helium 10. But any conference that you guys can get to. Any other tips for us, Eugene?
I've another one, but it's pretty vanilla. But it's something that has worked for us consistently. Is I kind of mentioned is like feed the Amazon ecosystem, right? So pretty much like obviously PPC. We learned the hard way. We were like, hey, let's be more efficient on PPC, and that ended up being our worst year ever, and everything went down. And now we realize that hey, you got to feed that beast, and PPC being one of it. Coupons, taking advantage of their exclusive discounts, taking advantage of their pilot programs, and especially the SaaS team. I know SaaS is, if you know what I'm talking about, like the account manager program. I know you have to pay for it, and I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on it. For us, we get that from an insurance standpoint, but also being able to get invited to different pilots, and also be able to have a direct line of contact when very serious things happen, and it has happened, where we have at least a lifeline where they're going to go above and beyond what Seller Support does, right? And they'll get back to us pretty much within the hour type of thing. And I think that paying for that for peace of mind is very valuable to us.
How much is that per year?
I think they make it, was it? I don't know. It's a certain percentage of your sales, but it won't go above a certain amount. But I know we pay a couple $1,000 a year just for that for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, like I said, we're here at the end of 2021. If you come back at the beginning of, let's say, 2023 or something, back on this podcast, what would you like to be able to tell me about your 2022? Like, what's your goals for next year?
Well, pretty much have a lot. We have a lot of product launches coming in, so hopefully we hit 90% of those to be very successful. We like I said, we were more aggressive than ever for coming into the following year with new product lines, because just the new system that we put in place really works. I mean, I think it's really just more, I mean, I would say higher profit, being able to absorb all I'm sure there's gonna be more increased cost probably, but being able to keep playing in this field. I mean, keep dodging the bullets is I guess the best way to say it, because they're going to keep coming, and I know it. Just how to adjust and adapt as best we can, which is how we're still alive today.
All right, well, Eugene, thank you so much for coming on, and really inspiring story. One of those started from the bottom, now we hear stories. In another world, you didn't make the decision you did. I mean, you could be working at your parents' restaurant, which is not a bad thing at all. A lot of people do that. But, if you were doing that, I probably wouldn't be looking at your game room in the back and having a full arcade in your house and stuff like that. So I'm assuming that being an entrepreneur on Amazon has really helped you open some doors. And so it's great to see your success, and we'll definitely be reaching out in the future to get a follow-up with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bradley.